eye-opener, blame everyone except the rich. To me, it seems so odd to demonize welfare recipients for the drag on the economy that they supposedly represent, while ignoring the very same drag on the economy that the wealthiest among us represents. As a matter of fact, the wealthy represent an even greater drag on a case-by-case basis because they are given millions in tax breaks. Sometimes the wealthiest of the wealthy are even given billions. And what are the reasons they are afforded such tributes, as these gifts from the rest of us would have been called in the days of rulers, kings, queens, or monarchs? Another word for such offerings, of course, being taxes. As was the case historically, so is the case today. People are taxed to pay for protection or some other service as provided by the state or some other higher authority. A king, queen, or monarch by some other name guaranteed the safety of his or her people and offered prosperity to their subjects, who in turn offered a share of their crops or a portion of their income as payment. There was a mutual agreement until there wasn't. You see, there was always the eventual betrayal that almost, if not always, came from the top down. By top down, I mean in the hierarchy that inevitably formed in a pseudo-organic manner which always took on the shape of a pyramid. Like the pyramid schemes of today, those who benefited the most from such agreements were those at the top. Whether a czar or an emperor or a king claimed to have been chosen by God, all the money of each era flowed towards these individuals. Then there were the princes and princesses, the children of the rulers, or the earls and dukes and duchesses, who were in the second or third tier of beneficiaries in these pyramid schemes. I realize I'm not listing these titles or their hierarchy correctly, but this is not the point. What I am getting at is that there was and is a hierarchy in which the wealth always flowed up, as it was concentrated in fewer and fewer hands. Accompanying this wealth distribution was also the concentration of power and control. The higher up someone was in every one of these societies, the more wealth, power, and control one held and exerted at will. As stated above, these agreements between the haves and the have-nots were pseudo-organic because the leaders who initially seized control were either the smartest or the strongest among their peers, and as such were followed by their peers towards greater glory, fortune, and fame. The creation of such leadership in such cases may have in fact been organic, as their followers willingly submitted. As these societies grew to encompass neighboring lands, however, the choice to follow was no longer offered, unless you count the choice to live or die as an actual choice. In the end, those in power began to seize the wealth of others. The monarchs throughout history did this, as do the elites of today. The rich take your money and do with it as they please. If, as an American, you doubt this, ask yourself whether you would support the endless wars that America fights or has supported for decades. I'm not saying that the wars themselves are endless, because since World War II, America has always ended its participation in various conflicts around the globe, or retreated without achieving any of the goals it stated at the outset. I am, however, saying that America has jumped from one failed campaign to another without achieving its stated objectives. And it is there that I hope Americans question whether they have chosen to spend their tax dollars wisely or not. Whether for humanitarian reasons, as was the claim before Obama, who on the advice of Hillary Clinton helped Libya overthrow Gaddafi, or it was the ironic overthrow of the democratically elected Iranian president Mossadegh in 1953. American tax dollars have gone into American intervention with the supposed goal of maintaining or preserving American interests. While the faith that Americans had in the leaders who claimed they were acting in the best interest of the United States and its people can be understood before the 1980s, it is less so since, because America's leaders seem more concerned with the citizens of other countries than their own. The latest proof of this being the support shown for Ukraine and Israel, both of which have some form of universal health care for their citizens, while a high percentage of America's bankruptcies are due to medical expenses. It does not feel as if American leadership is acting in the best interest of its constituents when the number of homeless families is increasing, while the rich drive the prices of homes out of range for far too many Americans. It does not feel like the United States is worried about its people when during a pandemic, a larger share of the money that was printed out of thin air went to the wealthy than to those who would actually use it, and thusly keep the economy from stagnating. Look at previous posts on this channel, or at MikeSonsEntertainment.com for discussions about how illogical and immoral it was to give the lion's share of trillions to the rich during COVID-19. Also, look back at posts here or at MikeSonsEntertainment.com for videos discussing how Forbes magazine unintentionally documented how the rich were receiving an ever greater percentage of the annual income available in the US, as average Americans received less year after year. For decades, Americans have argued that the rich should be praised for their innovation, ingenuity, and ambition. Some even used the argument that they wanted the rich to be treated better than the rest of us, because they too might someday join the ranks of the elite. This sounds like an argument that could be sold by the rich through the media conglomerates they own to a population dumb enough or ignorant enough to accept it uncritically. Just as the argument that the rich make and their sycophants have regurgitated, that goes as follows. Even if you tax the rich at 100% of their income for the year, it won't make up for the national deficit. While true, the deficit would still be decreased for one, and if the policy had been to tax the rich, their fair share for decades had also been the case, the deficit would be less, and the rest of us would have more money today. The last argument I will make here for taxing the rich appropriately is this. Though there are more reasons for doing so, just look for the petition called End the Job Creator Lie online. It provides evidence that taxing the rich fairly would greatly impact the debt as currently owed in America. For, to whom would you guess we owe that debt? We're not borrowing from our broke relatives, friends, and colleagues. We're borrowing it from the rich because they own everything. No, let me not be so hyperbolic. The rich don't own everything. They're just on their way to owning everything. And they're not even trying to hide this fact anymore. Look up the World Economic Forum's motto, which states, "You'll own nothing and be happy." To which anyone with half a brain should question, who will own what I don't? With a follow-up question being, if I own nothing, what will compel those who own everything to provide me with the things I need to survive? Food is not free. Clean water is not free. Shelter is not free. In America, nothing is free except the sunshine and death. If you like the videos here and would like to see more, let your friends and family know about this website called Mike Sons Entertainment on YouTube. There are plenty of blogs, news, and websites reporting and complaining about our leaders and their failures. How many, however, are offering or even pointing to any solutions? The book Solutions. Enough Complaining, Let's Fix America by Chris Osman does, and it can be found on Amazon or at www.MikeSonsEntertainment.com. To find out other ways you're being screwed by your current leaders, check out the posts on this blog daily. Learn about the biggest and worst issues that America and its people face today. You can also check into this blog daily to hear about those issues that America and its people will face in the near and distant future. If, however, you would like to discover possible solutions to either mitigate the worst impacts of these issues or solutions to avoid them altogether, keep listening. The problems we face are not as complicated as so many leaders and news reports claim. They are man-made and are only claimed as complicated so those who are responsible can maintain control. For example, there is a persistent argument that moving government is like turning a cruise ship around. It is supposedly a long process that can only be achieved incrementally. While this may be true for laws and policies that benefit the majority of Americans, it does not seem to be so for that smallest of American minorities. When one examines the policies and laws that benefit that minority known as the elite or the rich, the speed at which those laws are passed is exponentially faster. While most of us sit on the deck chairs waiting for the Titanic to avoid the myriad of icebergs of which we seem to continually run afoul, the elite ride comfortably in speedboats. If, according to the Declaration of Independence, all men are created equal, why do the rich live quite different lives than the rest of us? Where is our speedboat? In 2018, Chris Osman wrote a book highlighting the problems humanity would face if more power, wealth, and control were funneled to a small group of individuals, groups, or organizations. In that book, Mr. Osman provides solutions, offered up from himself and others, to the inevitable problems we would all face. In it, he also provided a means for the public to analyze, compare, and contrast the words and deeds of those we've chosen to follow against our real-world experiences. To this end, Mr. Osman provides the means for readers to disseminate information as provided by their news sources of choice, their elected officials, and any other authority they choose to follow. The book, titled Solutions, Enough Complaining, Let's Fix America, offers a means to hold leaders up, not just to a higher standard than is currently accepted, but to one that will improve lives. Blaming the poor for a bad economy is stupid. Click the link below and get your copy of Solutions today.